And the next presentation, also originally not scheduled, Eric van Rees, he will talk about mastering geospatial analysis with Python. Please. I don't know, what is your current position or title?
Currently I am self-employed, so I am freelancing. I do technical writing for IT, local IT company in Granada, Spain, where I live. I also work for various spatial blogs and publications. I used to work for Geoinformatics, but that publication does no longer exist. But I work for similar publications such as Par3D and an international publication called XYHT magazine. It's American, North American, which is about mapping and spatial technology. So it's really part extension of the work I used to do in spatial technology, and part of it is more geared towards software and software development, which is what I'm going to talk about today a little bit. Presentation called Mastering Geospatial Analysis with Python. This presentation is an adoption from a presentation I held last week in Granada. So I took the first slide, which is the poster for that presentation. But it has the same title, so it's fitting. So let me tell you a bit about myself. I am Dutch, but I live in Spain. I studied human geography in the Netherlands. That's where I first worked with spatial technology. GIS was a very early version of Rees ArcGIS software. And I really liked that because I was interested in software. And I started learning Python a few years ago. I used the Rees ArcPy site package to automate GIS tasks, and this led to more knowledge about Python and also open source packages for Python and spatial analysis. So now I do technical writing as a freelancer. I work from Spain, but most of my clients are either from the United States or Europe, or from all over Europe. And if you want to contact me, I have a website with a portfolio and an email address. What I want to talk to you about in this presentation is a book I wrote with two American developers about spatial analysis with Python. This is actually a book. It's available in paper, but also as a PDF or a Kindle or whatever you like to read on your tablet. It's really tutorial based, so also for photogrammetrists it can be very interesting to get to know packages such as GDAL, which you surely all know and use if you use Photomod. But you can also use it in a Python environment to open and read and convert and work and then do analysis with raster data. So this is really a book of tutorials with tips and tricks, how to best practices. It's for beginners as well as advanced programmers. So if you're just new to Python, it's quite easy to learn and to pick up and start working with. So it is for beginners and advanced users alike. And before I start with this, let me add that I'm open to suggestions and talk with you if you think that photogrammetry software or maybe Photomod or other applications can be extended with Python. So I'm really interested in your opinions about how current applications could make use of programming languages or other ways to extend it. For example, there was a lot of talk about the cloud, how to use the cloud for doing spatial analysis, how to automate workflows, where to store data, how to do processing. And these are all themes that are covered in this book. So there's a lot of overlap from themes of this conference with the book. So I'm open to talk with you about that later, or today, or tomorrow. For those of you who don't know what Python is, it's more than just a snake. It is also a programming language that has become very popular over the last few years and picked up by a lot of people. also in the spatial technology industry, because it is more and more used to automate workflows and to work with data, open data, read data outside of an application. I want to make one point very clear. I am not advocating that everyone should start moving away from the applications they are using, or learn Python and nothing else. No, it's not true. It is a tool meant to augment your current workflows, if it is possible, and if not, okay, then not. But it is very popular among young people and also developers who have no background in whatsoever technologies, GIS or photogrammetry, but they are interested in it, in developing. So what they want is data they can open with their programming language of choice, and Python is a very, very good example of that. So what is Python? It is a higher level programming language. That means that it resembles normal languages, human readable language. So it is not machine language, high abstract comments and code. You can easily read it. The machine translates it to a machine language. Truth to be told, Python is compiled to C++ before it gets executed. So what you're basically doing is writing C++, but in a more easy to manage syntax. So Python is very popular among beginning programmers because it's so easy to read. And the cool thing about Python is that it has a huge ecosystem of code libraries that you can use. It's freely downloadable, open source, and it has a big community of enthusiastic people that help you if you have a problem. You can use it for scripting, so workflows that you can just put into code and execute and share with other people, but you can also build your own applications if you want. There was an example in, I think, the second last presentation about from the Digital Globe people about how do you say, recognizing objects in satellite image. That is an example of machine learning that is applied a lot recently in the geospatial industry. So an example of Esri, at the latest user conference, they used machine learning libraries from Python to do object recognition in satellite images. So this is an example of other techniques that can be integrated into Python spatial analysis workflows. So I want to talk a bit about why I wrote this book and why was it published now. Well, these days we have a new version of Python, it's Python 3. It has another code base or source code than Python 2. Python 3 is much better in many ways, but the spatial community did not use Python 3 for a long time. Now they have to, because more and more people migrate to Python 3. So it was a good moment to write a book about Python 3. What's even more interesting is that now you can use an application called Jupyter Notebooks that is freely available to Python developers. You can download it for free. You have Python and you have an application that runs in your web browser. And you can write code, you can execute code. It also has mapping interfaces, so you can combine many things together. And something that looks really like a normal application or GIS application. There are many, many cool new libraries available from industry people like Mapbox, Carto, and Esri that we wanted to include. And they are now in this book, and they were not covered in other books yet. And also we wanted to make a sort of best of from the best spatial libraries that you should really know if you start to work with spatial data in Python and you don't know where to start. So this is an example of a Jupyter Notebook. You can see you have a mapping interface, you have code, and you also have tabular data. So you have spreadsheets, code, and a map in one screen. That's really cool. and maybe this is the way to go for Photomat also in the future. Web-based workflows, and you can manage data analysis and results in one in a browser. By the way, this is also from SU. This is their Python API for ArcGIS. So you communicate directly with data in the cloud from their ArcGIS online platform, cloud platform. So they have analysis and data in one place, and you use a locally installed API, Python API, and you can do stuff. So this book is a good place to start. We think my part of the book. So I wrote it with two experienced developers. This was my first book, so I took the first chapters of the book that cover the GDAL OGR library mostly. This is like really an essential library to know if you work with spatial data. If you do file conversion or open different file formats, you have used GDAL, because every major spatial application uses GDAL. It's open source. The only problem is that it's written in C++, and there are Python bindings, so you can use it in Python, but it has no visualization component. That's why other libraries were written, like Fiona, Shapley, and Rasterio. These do the same thing as GDAL, but in a more Pythonic way of notation. The syntax is more Pythonic. So if you're a Python developer, this is more easy to learn than GDAL. But both are in the book. Another thing that we put in the book is we didn't want to do desktop only. We wanted to cover web analysis, WebGIS, and Cloud GIS, as well as desktop, and how you can use Python to do all. And that also includes spatial databases like PostGIS, which is an add-on to the PostgreSQL database, an open source database that you can use for managing spatial data. Yeah, and you can mix and match. You can with Python you can take the components you want and the data you want and do desktop, web, or cloud, or combinations of both. So you're free to choose what you want and what you think is best. Okay, this is a very, very short example of a library that I use for this book. It's called GeoPandas. If you are familiar with SciPy, there's a library called Pandas that can read tabular data and do selections of tabular data, so spreadsheet data. The problem is that it cannot read spatial data, so a very smart person, a scientist, wrote a library called GeoPandas, so that can read spatial data. For example, as you shape files, you can also read them with OGR, but you have to loop through them with for loops, and it's not very handy. You want to visualize the data, and GeoPandas can do that. And I did a short example for the book where you do spatial analysis with vector data. I know you're photogrammetrists and you all work with raster data, but okay, this is just to show what you can do with this library. In fact, this library was so popular that Esri completely stole all the functionality and put it into their latest API version of Python. So this you can also do with the Python API for ArcGIS. So suppose that I have a shapefile that has the vectors of all the states in the United States. And I have another one that has point data, and I want to do a count of all the points per state and put them in a table. With a GIS, that's pretty easy. If you do a spatial join, and you ask, okay, give me count all the points that fall within one polygon, state polygon, and give me a total count per state or per polygon. You can also do this with GeoPandas and produce this. So these are wildfires over a period of, I think, 20 years or something. And I want the 3 highest counts in the table. So this is what I want to produce. How do I do this? This is the map that I want to produce, so a core complete map. And So these are all points, point geometries, but I want a name of the state where that point is. And I can do this by combining both data sets. This is the code that you would need. So this is the first part of a script, this is the second part. And you need that to produce this map in Python. So that is a very short time what the book is all about, what you can do with Python and how you can do spatial analysis with Python. I hope you have an idea of what Python is, what it can do, and how you can extend your current workflows. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. The link that I put here is the link to where you can find more information about the book and even buy it if you want. And if you really want to see it, Andre has a PDF copy on his laptop in the hallway, so you can have a look at it. Well, that was everything. Questions, please.
Спасибо за интересную презентацию. Вопрос, пожалуйста.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. Questions, please. Below from ST Group. It's not a question, but rather an add-on or comment that we did our classification of these objects with fish by using the libraries of Python, for instance, Keras and TensorFlow. So I fully support Eric that indeed in geoinformatics and machine learning and all the similar things, it is a very powerful and modern tool. We are also actively using it. So we already have a user there. Okay. More questions? If there are no more questions, then thank you very much. I would like to wish Eric all the best and to his book promotion as well.